Hi there, that's right, my name's Nick Dutch, and I'm here to inform you, to let you know something which may have escaped your attention. You are a primitive, and so am I. That's right, humankind has not actually evolved all that much within the past 3 millennia. Who was that person, maybe 3,500 years ago, who looked up at the night sky and saw those little pinpricks of lights that we now call stars and thought, what are they? Well, that person was essentially a you, or a creature very similar to yourself. And now let's think about the modern era, with our primitive tools. What creature is it that charges up the battery or presses the buttons on these primitive tools? Well, it's the same species of creature as the one who looked up at the stars 3,500 years ago and thought, wow, aren't they beautiful, what are they? You haven't evolved all that much. Okay, so maybe we've grown a bit taller because of more access to food or better diet, maybe better knowledge of nutrition. There's more of us around thanks to advances in medical science. And yes, we've got a bit of a different variety of culture. And we've got education and a wide variety of other things. But the creature that's pressing the buttons on these modern devices, and the creature who 3,500 years ago looked up at the stars and thought, wow, aren't they beautiful, is the same, more or less. Maybe there's some very minor changes, but it's still the same creature. Sophisticated, emotional, but yeah, you've got some very primitive emotional responses. Let me illustrate this. Some of you guys know I've got a cat. Now this cat, he's got a sense of humour, he's got a sense of play. When I come in through my front door, and he comes in at the same time, he can try and race me to my chair and try and get there before me. Because he's got a sense of humour. He knows it would be fun, it would be a challenge, it would be exciting. And he knows that this is where I sit when I'm doing my work, when I'm doing my YouTube videos. He knows that I'm a creature who's got a territory. When I have breakfast before him, he visibly shows signs of being a little resentful about that. Alright? Because he has the same kinds of emotions that you have. He has guilt if he's done something wrong. He has visible expressions of love, a desire for friendship, companionship. So that cat has a lot of the emotions that you have, in a slightly different way, because he's got a slightly different brain, but still mammalian, and still basic to our nature. You see, when you're at your fun or at your recreation, you're doing just what my cat does. You're expressing the same kinds of emotions. Okay, you might use your language, your communication, your style of dress, your references to popular culture, but you're still doing the same primitive thing. And the same primitive thing that's been done by humans since we first came out of the caves. We haven't changed all that much. We are still very primitive. Sure, we've got all these toys with their little screens with words and pictures on them, but the creature itself remains the same. And therefore, a lot of the needs of the creature will also remain the same. And that involves a need for knowing your place in the universe, or understanding yourself, understanding other people, and building up stories which help us to develop in our morality or our conceptions of what is right and what is wrong. And sometimes that involves more complex concepts, the abstract, such as the spiritual. And these are basic human needs, not necessarily for everyone. Some humans get their stories from the media. Some people get their stories by which they measure their own progress through places like YouTube, where they can see different people discussing different ideas and try and work out what they think on that basis. But for a lot of us, and I mean a lot of us, and arguably the majority of this species, there is the need for the spiritual. No matter how much technology evolves, no matter how much more glossy our digital cameras, mobile phones, computers, broadband internet connection gets, no matter how cool our cars look, it'll still be the same creature who's driving those cars, pressing the buttons on the mobile phone, and talking to the camera. The same primitive creature. And you've got needs, some of which are intangible, and some of which are tangible. And I just want to leave that thought with you today, because it's something that you have to accept. Yes, we still have to abide by the norms of our society. We still have to fit in. We still have to learn what it is to be ourselves and go through the basic human process of trying to suss it all, because that's what we do. But we've also got to realize that we are just mammalian, and we are just as primitive as we were 3,500 years ago. And the needs of the people then, and the needs of the people now, in many ways, haven't actually advanced. My name's Nick Dutch, and that's just a few thoughts for today.